Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson alongside Andrew Bone. This just in, Alabama lands Jamil Burroughs, class of 2020 defensive tackle. Bone, break it down. I mean, he's a four-star, big boy, 6'3", 320 pounds. What does it mean for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, it's a big get for Alabama, knowing that they're really looking for some additional defensive linemen in this class. Jamil Burroughs has been one of Alabama's top targets for a pretty long time now, and we've seen him visit Tuscaloosa throughout the year. He made it to both cookouts during the summer, which is kind of rare, and he was a commitment to Georgia at the time, and then he was back in Tuscaloosa for the Ole Miss game. He attended Alabama's game against Duke. So you knew that the interest was really strong. Even before he decommitted from Georgia, we were kind of predicting him to flip to Alabama, but decommitted from Georgia a few weeks ago, and decided that today was his day to go ahead and make his commitment to Alabama. But I'm sure the Alabama coaches are excited to get them another defensive lineman, as I said, on board, another big-bodied lineman. And they're just continuing to add great depth on that defensive line class.
Burroughs was previously committed to Georgia. What's the backstory on that situation, Bone, and when did he decide to decommit? It looks like he decommitted somewhere around early September. What's the backstory, though, regarding that?
Yeah, well, I think there were some great issues there. I think that he's been pretty focused this fall, and in terms of trying to get things in order and get things right. And I think that I don't think Alabama would have taken him if they didn't think that he had a chance to qualify. So they went ahead and took his commitment. I'm sure they're going to continue to monitor his situation extremely close and just make sure that he's doing all the right things off the field to qualify. So, I think Alabama is, like I said, extremely excited to get him on board. Obviously, Georgia's recruiting at a very high level. They're continuing to, bring in top guys. They lost Jamil Burroughs. Alabama gains him, so I think it's a win for Alabama.
Now, he's not your typical defensive lineman. I mean, he's a big boy, 6'3", 320 pounds. I mean, what do you like about his play, and what does he bring to Alabama besides, just being a monster of a dude?
Yeah, I mean, he's he's a good-sized kid. He's a big lineman, big space eater. I mean, he's 6 foot. He's listed at 6'3", but I think he's probably a little bit shorter than that. He's probably more 6'1.5", 6'2", but he's very physical. He's very quick. Very powerful. I think he's got a chance to be he can be an all SEC type performer in Tuscaloosa, and who knows how good he can become. But I think that Alabama really likes him a lot. They have a lot of faith in him, and Alabama, known for developing defensive linemen. You see all the defensive linemen who've come through Tuscaloosa that they've been able to develop and put into the NFL. And I think that was probably another strong selling point for him, because you look at not even all the 5 stars that have come through Alabama, like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and those type of guys, Ashawn Robinson. You have guys like DJ Dell, who's a 3-star recruit who came in making a big impact early on the Alabama team. Quentin Williams, who was a 4-star coming out of high school, being the number 3 overall draft pick. I think those are some things that really stand out to recruits, especially defensive line recruits.
Now, what does this say about Brian Baker? I assume that he was the lead recruit on that. Is that correct?
Well, he was one of the recruiters that was recruiting him throughout the whole process, along with Charles Kelly. So, you had some guys, you had a few guys that were recruiting him throughout the process. But, anytime a kid's being recruited, his position coach always plays a big role. And so Brian Baker certainly, I'm sure he's excited about getting him on board. And there's some other guys that Brian Baker's still recruiting. I mean, Alabama's not finished on the defensive line just yet. I mean, there's still a lot of guys who are out there. Still a lot of guys that they would that they're recruiting, and a few guys that they would certainly love to have in the program. I mean, they're still recruiting Jordan Birch, still recruiting McKinley Jackson, Alfred Collins. So those are some big names that are still out there, that are still on the want list for Alabama. So it's not like they're going to slow down on recruiting defensive linemen. They're really going to try to focus in on and try to get some more big names in this class.
Now, Bone, when we look at this class overall, this is a 23rd commitment to the class of 2020. Everyone's going to ask you on the BamaInsider.com message board, how many more spots are available? What's your take on that?
Well, it's going to be interesting kind of see how things shape out because, there's some guys still in the recruiting class that are on the commitment board right now that I could potentially see going elsewhere that could end up falling out of the class. We might end up seeing a gray shirt. We may end up seeing maybe one kid taking a blue shirt. So you never know how those numbers may work out. But, still recruiting a lot of guys that are out there. I mean, Alabama's still looking for another running back. They're still looking for another wide receiver. Obviously, tight end remains a key priority. Offensive line, defensive line, at least one linebacker, at least one defensive back. So there's still a lot of names out there, a lot of positions to be filled. So I think, I don't think they're going to slow down by any means. They're still going after their key targets, but it's definitely going to be a situation where they're going to have to be very, very careful, very specific with who they take with these last remaining spots.
All right, to read all the recruiting coverage and read more of what it means, Jamil Burroughs committing to Alabama, go to BamaInsider.com. You can also get a look at the early list of weekend visitors, including a 5-star who is returning to Tuscaloosa this weekend for Alabama and Tennessee. Remember, Alabama and Tennessee kickoff from Bryant-Denny Stadium, finally under the lights, 8 p.m. Bryant-Denny Stadium. Catch all the coverage back at BamaInsider.com. For Kyle Henderson and Andrew Bone, we'll catch you soon at BamaInsider.com.